Well, good morning. It's another bright and early morning. Perfect day to get some Jesus time on. So let's do it. Matthew 24. The destruction of the temple and sign of the end times. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call attention to its buildings. Do you see all these things? He asked. Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen? And what will be the sign of the coming and of the end of the ages? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, proclaiming, I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nations will rise against nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginnings of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to the persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all the nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people because of the increase of wickedness. The love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then to the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that caused desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down or take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or in Sabbath. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. In verse 22 we pick up. In those days, if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and gather and perform great signs and wonders to deceive. If possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out, or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. So when you see all these signs, you will know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Picking up in verse 36, the day and the hour unknown. But about that day or hour no one knows, not even angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field. One will enter and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a handmill. One will be taken and the other left. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at the time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time. And he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the title of today's devotional is Living Ready in Light of Matthew 20:24, with a scriptural focus on Matthew 24:42, which says, therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day the Lord will come. Now, the context behind this Matthew 24 is that Jesus is sitting in the Mount of Olives, speaking privately to his disciples. They had just left the temple, and Jesus foretold of its destruction. So the disciples asked him, and basically a natural follow-up question, said, when will this happen? And what will be the sign of the coming of the end of the age? And what follows is basically a prophetic and sobering teaching of the signs of the ends of times and the posture of the believer in the last days. In verses 4 through 31, it's as we went through, that's the section called the signs of the ends, and Jesus details a series of signs, deceptions and false messiahs, wars and rumors of war, natural disasters, famines, talks about the persecution of believers that's to come, lawlessness and loss of love, hard times coming. The preaching of the gospel to all nations. Though these signs are alarming, Jesus instructs his followers not to panic. He says these things must happen, but the end is still to come. And in verse 6, he says these signs serve not as a timeline to decode, essentially, but as a call to stay awake spiritually. In verse 32 through 34, he talks about the unknown hour. As Jesus is transitioning into teaching about readiness, he compares the timing of his return to the days of Noah. People will be living their normal lives unaware of impending judgment. Just as the floods came suddenly, so will the Son of Man. There's a key truth to understand here. It says that Jesus is telling them, he says, we do not know the hour of Jesus' return in verse 36. Meant to create fear, but to encourage constant vigilance and holy living. In verse 45 through 51, he talks about the faithful servant. The faithful and wise servant is doing what the master asked, even in his absence. The wicked servant becomes careless, thinking his master won't return soon. And this comparison challenges us. Are we living today as if Jesus could return tomorrow? So let me ask you a question. Are we being spiritually awake, or have we become complacent? Is our life marked by readiness, holiness, and urgency in the gospel? Are we being faithful servants, loving others, stewarding our time and gifts, and pointing people to Christ. Matthew 24 isn't meant to spark fear-driven speculation about the future. It's a call to faithful, consistent living in the present. Jesus is coming again. This is certain. The time is uncertain, but our response should be a life of expectation, preparation, and mission. So Father, today I pray that you help me to live in the awareness that you could return at any moment. Keep me faithful and focused on what matters. Make me a light in a dark world and help me not to grow weary in doing so and in doing good. Amen. Well, as always, if you enjoyed today's devotional, please leave me a comment. Let me know. Be sure to like the video, to subscribe to my channel, share this message with anyone you think it would benefit. And don't forget to ring the notification bell on the subscribe. It definitely will help the channel, help me get these messages out to a broader audience. Thankful for your time, and I pray that you have a blessed day. Well, as always, if you enjoyed today's devotional, please leave me a comment. Let me know. Be sure to like the video, to subscribe to my channel, share.